Like, is anybody surprised that Sony's live service efforts are not going smoothly? But, I guess they're admitting it. So let's take a look at this article from Insider Gaming. Sony says its shift in strategy to more live service games has been going smoothly. Really? I thought this said it isn't going smoothly. Hang on. Sony says that its shift in strategy to more live service games has been going smoothly. Is that a typo? During its latest earnings calls on Thursday, Chief Financial Officer CFO Lin Tao said that in terms of the transformation, the move towards more live service offerings is not entirely going smoothly, but from a long-term perspective, if you look at the changes over 5 years, you see that there has definitely been change. I mean, we've talked about this quite a lot, and I can already see the games listed below. They're going to highlight one of the reasons that PlayStation keeps pushing for live service is because they're making lots of money on other live service games, and they see the potential. That's why they're going to keep placing these bets. They know the payout can be huge. Tao talked about the fact that 5 years ago, live service games were almost non-existent for PlayStation Studios. But now the studio has successful games such as Helldivers 2, Gran Turismo 7, Destiny 2, and MLB The Show. Now let's ignore Destiny 2 because that was through acquisition. But MLB The Show and GT7 and Helldivers 2 are all initiatives that PlayStation has been behind that has made them tons of money. Like buying Bungie doesn't... This is obviously generating less and less revenue as time goes on. But that is something I have been saying for a very long time. Do not expect PlayStation to change. Everyone's like, oh, they should abandon all their live service efforts. Oh, really? And leave money on the table that they make from games like Helldivers 2, Gran Turismo 7, MLB The Show. Oh, let's not forget that Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls is coming, and that stands to be a huge and very successful fighting game. And those tend to be live service games where they do events, they do tournaments, they add skins, they add battle passes, they add characters, right? Like, that's going to be something where they likely make tons of money. Should they abandon that as well just because you don't like live service? Like, I'm not out here being a live service apologist, but I think people are being too, throw the baby out with the bathwater. She went on to say this. So we have 4 live services contributing to sales and profit in a stable manner. Despite those successes, Tao says that Sony recognizes that issues still remain, that they need to learn lessons from moving forward. She says that the company has to make sure that they introduce live service content where there's less waste. It's more smooth. Here's where you get less waste, and this is something that I've talked about a lot. Do not task your single-player studios with building a live service game. Go to studios that are already doing it, like when you partner and work with Arrowhead, like this situation with Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. Rather than having Bend Studio or Bluepoint, building a live service game, go to studios that have experience doing it, and then that's obviously going to cost you a lot less money to publish a game as opposed to having one of your studios that you're shouldering the operating costs for waste a bunch of years on it like they did with Bend. With that said, Tao was clear to mention that live service games made up roughly 40% of Sony's revenue in the first quarter. Let's just read this again and really drive home what I've been trying to tell people. They're not going to back off from live service because it generates so much money. Right here, live service games made up roughly 40% of Sony's revenue for the first quarter, getting close to half of their revenue. That's insane. You got to include games like Fortnite and Warzone in there, but it stands to reason they're looking at those numbers and saying, we need more of these games. For the year, she says it's in the range of 20 to 30%. So for the entire calendar year, it's almost a quarter or a third, all right? Now, speaking of live service games, Sony says that Marathon is still planned to release by the end of March 2026. I don't know why they're doing this. I don't know why they haven't cut their losses on this game and canceled it. There's other reports coming out now that they are essentially taking over Bungie, and so I don't know why. Maybe as soon as that happens, they cancel Marathon, right? There's always the possibility for another delay. Tao does not expect that to happen. So Tao acknowledges that it could get delayed again or canceled, but they're saying, well, they don't expect that to happen. I fully expect that to happen if Bungie fully gets taken over by Sony, because Marathon is such a non-starter. And right now, if you want the public to have confidence in PlayStation-owned live service games, don't put out another stinker. So, yeah, I mean, nobody's surprised that it hasn't gone that smoothly, but I'm just going to keep coming back to the same basic fact. You are not going to see this company walk away from live service games and live service publishing because of the money they could make. It's always going to be about that. The investment that they've set is going to stay put. I just think they need to be smarter about taking those investments and going to existing studios or existing pieces of property and partnering with them to have successful live service games, as opposed to having your single-player studios do that, because we know the tentpole titles are part of the identity of PlayStation, and you don't want those studios wasting their time on this. So live service is going to keep coming from PlayStation. Even if it hasn't been smooth, it still makes them a lot of money.